Okay, my name is Gerald Griffith, and most of you see me post pictures on Facebook from time to time. And so I thought I'd do something a little different today and actually let you see something being prepared. So since I have Film Atlanta Group and some of the training that we do, I end up with certain assets, I'll put it like that. So I thought I'd pull some of those out of the basement and set up a little place here to get things going and actually demonstrate a little bit of what I do. So this past week I did a spicy shrimp dish with mango, and it got a lot of attention online, so I thought I'd demonstrate a little bit of how that's done, and hopefully you're able to go out and give it a shot yourself. You'll find that most of the dishes that I do and things that I work with are very simple, not anything super fancy. This isn't about you going out trying to be the next Wolfgang Puck or Emeril Lagasse or anything like that. This is just about you being able to create very vibrant, exciting food dishes and enjoy those with your family without a whole lot of fuss. And most of the things I make only take about 30 minutes from start to finish. In this case, we're going to ultimately add our shrimp to a little pasta which I've already prepared, and it's sitting to the side just staying warm. So we are going to go over some of the ingredients that we're using, and I'll explain those to you, and we will keep on rolling from there. So I'll post this on YouTube and Facebook and everything, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So for starters, we're going to put our shrimp out here. Obviously, the shrimp are already prepared, they're deveined and everything. So I get these already prepped at the store. I sometimes get them with the shell on. In this case, I do not have that because it's just simply not worth the extra time all the time. As long as the price is reasonable, I'll buy them that way. Obviously, we have the mango, which goes into the dish. And this mango is freshly cut up out of a whole mango, so it's not out of a can or frozen from a bag or anything. It's one of the fresh ingredients that we use. And I'm actually going to demonstrate something with the mango for you here in a moment, just to give you a demonstration of how easy some of these processes are. In addition to that, we have a little cayenne pepper. I'll go ahead and unwrap some of this because we're going to be using it here in a moment as we move to the next step. In this case, I have about half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper set aside. We may use all of it, we may not, just depending once I start mixing it all together. I tend to add a little bit of salt to my dish, even in addition to the regular seasoning that I use. And again, that's just regular sea salt. It's Morton's, I believe it is, but it's a pretty good sea salt. You just have to get used to using the certain amount of it. One of the seasonings that I use a lot, it's a mix by Weber, which has a little garlic, some additional red pepper, things in it. It's called Kickin' Chicken. I'll actually show it to you here so you can get a look at what it looks like. You can pick that up at the store. I usually get it at Sam's or BJ's because it's about $3 a container and it's really good. I mix it with very spicy dishes sometimes, and I mix it up with very simple things and just adjust the seasoning as needed. But it's a really good blend, and you'll see how it all works together here in a few moments. In addition, I use a little bit of olive oil. I also get that from one of the member clubs. What you'll find if you use a lot of oil in your cooking is that it's better to go ahead and just pick up one of the larger containers that you'll find at your Sam's or BJ's, because quite frankly, buying the small containers of olive oil out of the grocery store is not a very economical thing. Sometimes they're $8 or $9, whereas the big gallon-sized container from the member club is about $10. So you do the math on that and see what makes sense for you. So I'm going to go ahead and set some of this back to the side for now so that we can start putting it all together, and you'll be able to see just how easy this is. I'm going to sit that there. We're going to go ahead and take our shrimp, bring it out, and you can see that right now it's just the plain shrimp. So what I like to do is go ahead and sprinkle in some of the Kickin' Chicken seasoning. I like to put a good amount in there. So I'm not going to be shy with it. I'm not going to hold back at all. It's just going to get in there and it's going to do its thing and not have any issues. I'm going to just use a fork to kind of mix it in there right now. If I were doing this just for myself here, I probably would just go ahead and load my hands in there, but since I'm jumping with a lot of different ingredients, I don't want to have to keep washing my hands every 5 seconds. So this is how we're going to do it for right now. Just going to mix that in a little bit. Just get it nice and coated. I'm going to make sure you got everything pretty much with some seasoning on it. And again, in this particular case, I'm using 3 tablespoons to do it. Sometimes I use a little more, just depending on how much flavor I want to add. But I'm going to keep it pretty simple this time around. And again, just mix that in there. Get it stirred in like so. To that, I'm going to add a small amount of pepper to it. This is just some ground cayenne pepper, just to give it a little bit of additional kick to it. And my salt here just to bring the flavor profile up a little bit. I had a ½ teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to use all of that in there this time around, so I'd probably say about a ¼ teaspoon would be plenty in this case. And we're just going to go ahead and stir that up and mix that in there all like that. Okay, so the last thing I add to this particular mix like this is I go ahead and pour in some olive oil. And what we have here is just a ¼ cup. I'm just going to use some of it there, and then I'm going to use the rest of it in the pan when I come to that in a moment. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up like this, getting the flavor going. And since the Weber seasoning is a dry mix, I like to give those dry mixes a chance to absorb some of the moisture and actually kind of come to life. I think if you just throw them on there and throw the food in there, they never really get a chance to give your food the flavor that you want it to have. So what I like to do is make sure everything gets nice and moist. You can see the flavors are in there. And then what we're going to do is set that to the side, and I'm going to take a moment to demonstrate something else to you. Let's go ahead and wipe our board off here just to get that cleaned up. Again, this is our first time trying this, so if it's not perfect, just bear with us and we'll work on it over time. So now, let's talk about the mango. Most of you have probably used a mango or had one at some point. And this is actually a technique that someone demonstrated on Facebook. I saw it probably a couple months ago, and then I saw it again about a week ago, just before trying this. And I thought it was a pretty ingenious approach. At the time, I didn't know how good it would work, but I found that it works very well. The only thing I would tell you about it is that you want to have a mango that's not overly ripe, but one that's softening a little bit so that you can actually do this procedure without too much strain or stress. Of course, you know, in a mango it has a long seed that runs the length of the fruit, and it's slim. It's slim in nature, so it's something like this in shape and size. So what we're going to do to start this is we're just going to take our knife starting at the edge here, and we're going to try to kind of follow the seed a little bit. We don't want to cut into it, but we just want to follow it. And you can see I got just close enough. That's perfect. We're going to set that to the side. We're going to come out and we're going to take and do the same thing. On this side, we're just going to start a slow cut. We don't want to fight the seed. We just want to find it in there and go down until that other part falls off like that. Now, myself or the kids sometimes will take the additional rind off of here and go ahead and enjoy the mango that's right around the seed. But for this purpose, we're just going to just set that to the side. You'll notice that I have a glass here, and this is just a regular glass that we had in our cabinet, and I'm going to use this to actually extract the mango out of its skin. And you'll know sometimes that if you're trying to skin a mango or take the skin off, that it can be a very messy process. So in this case, we're going to do it a different way. We're going to just take our cup here and find this very front edge and slide it in. And as we do, I'm just going to take the sides and squeeze them so that it fits right along that edge of the glass. And I'm just going to push it up and push it up. As I go, I'm pulling the skin down in the back, like so. And voila, there we go. A nice piece of mango. The skin is as clean as you're ever going to get it. And we have a piece of mango that we can just slide out, and it's great. We're going to just turn that over there. And we're going to do the same with the other one. Again, just finding the edge of it, getting it going there, and just go up through it like this. And we're going to go ahead and set that to the side. And there we go. 2 pieces of mango, all nice and set aside. We're going to take and just, in our case, we just take and slice that up into sections. And I usually just drop that right into a bowl. It's kind of just a small bowl out of the cabinet, so again, nothing too fancy there. Take and slice this one. And again, I'm just slicing it up to smaller parts. Put that into the bowl there. Okay. All right. So there we go. And as you can see, just nice piece of mangoes, all set, easy going, no problem at all. We already have some cut up, so we're going to set this to the side. And wipe our hands off here on a nice wet rag to get ready to go to the next step. And since we're done with our cutting board for this purpose, we're going to go ahead and set this to the side as well. All right, so we're back. And you can see this time we have our pan out. And we're about to get going here. We're going to go ahead and turn our stovetop on, our cooktop on. I usually use a medium-high heat, nothing too hot. We don't want to throw it in there and have things just burning up the first few moments that you have it. So we're going to just sit that like that. Let our pan heat up a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and put that little bit of olive oil in there. And I think I want to get a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a little more in my container here, in my small bowl. There we go. And I'll add that to the pan as well. Okay, sit that back to the side. Don't have to put too much in there, but we just want to make sure we have enough to nicely coat the bottom of the pan, like this. So, at this point, the pan is heating up nicely on a medium-high heat. We've got our shrimp here. It's been sitting, having a chance to absorb the flavors. You could probably try this technique with some other things, and just keep in mind that if it's a thicker type of meat, that you may want to give it a little more time. I obviously could have set the shrimp out and allowed it to go in the fridge for a while, and that would have given it a more intense flavor profile as well. We're going to sit that there. We want to make sure our pan has enough time to get nice and hot. And I think it's almost there. We'll put it in. We should just hear a light sizzle. Shouldn't be anything splattering all over the place or getting too worked up. So we want to get going with that. Okay. So let's go ahead and, yeah, there we go. Nice. Go ahead and add our shrimp in. And we'll spread it out. I could have done this in a slightly larger pan, but in this case it is what it is. We've kind of got it there, so we're not going to change that at the moment, but I do have a larger pan that I could have put this in. Put our bowl back to the side. And we want to let it sit. Again, you should have a light sizzle. Shrimp is not something that's going to take an awfully long time to cook, so you don't want to expect it to take forever on that note. So we're going to let that sit for a moment. I'm going to make one minor adjustment so that you can see the dish a little better, since now we're pretty much squarely focused on the shrimp. So we'll just let you watch that for a second while I make this change, and we'll go from there. Okay, I think that's a little better, gives you a better idea. Again, we're just going to do this for a couple moments and I'll let the shrimp cook. Now you may say, well, when do you put the mango in? What I like to do is let the shrimp cook for about a minute to a minute and a half. It only takes about 3 or 4 minutes altogether for shrimp to be nicely done. In this case, we don't want to add the mango too soon, because remember, the mango is already ripe a little bit. So if we put it in there and cook it down too much, it's just going to turn into a big mush. We don't want that to happen. So we're going to wait just until the shrimp all seem to have a little bit of whiteness to them. They're not quite as opaque, transparent anymore. So we're getting there. About 30 more seconds, and then we'll go ahead. Meantime, we'll go ahead and bring our mango over. Get ready to toss it in there. So again, in this particular case, I'm moving the shrimp around a little more than I usually do, only because the pan is not quite large enough to allow the individual shrimp to lie flat in the pan. I want to make sure everything gets its chance to cook. Okay, so that's pretty good right there. I'm going to go ahead and add in our mango to the dish. I'll roll it back to the side there. And I'm going to let that cook in. What will happen is it'll actually break up a little bit. Because it's fairly ripe, the mango will break down a little bit as it's stirred in with the shrimp. And what will become in the oil and the shrimp is it will actually form a type of a glaze with the sugars and all coming from the mango. And at this point, the dish is pretty much done. Again, you don't want to overcook this, so at this point I can go ahead and turn that heat off. It's a cast iron pan, so there'll be some residual heat there. Won't be a big problem getting that heat to follow through. Again, you're just stirring it, getting some of the juices, oils, and sugars off of the mango, off of the bottom of the pan, into the shrimp. Make sure everything's nicely coated. So if you're, I don't know if you're able to see this, but it's almost like a gel, and that's just a result of the sugars and the olive oil mixing together in with the seasonings. So that's that, and I'm going to let that sit for a moment. In the meantime, I'm going to grab my pasta out of the warmer that I've been keeping it in. Grab a plate. Okay, so now I've got that. Let's see, got my pasta here already ready to go. Set that to the side. I'm going to plate a little of the pasta, and you can enjoy the shrimp certainly without the pasta. It's delicious on its own, but if you want to be someone that has a more full meal, I jokingly say that the mango in with the shrimp makes it qualify as a fruit salad, but some seem to not really buy into my theory there, but oh well, to each his own. And so in this case, we're going to go ahead and take some of the shrimp and add to our dish as well. I'm going to go ahead and just grab some tongs to do that. Just put them in there. Get that in there just like that. A little extra mango on top. Okay. Get that to the side there. Wipe that off. And there you are. There's the spicy shrimp and mango. I think I'm going to swipe one off the side here. Wow, that is absolutely delicious. I think I may want to add a couple more pieces of shrimp on there for this dish to fill it out all the way. So there we go. It's nice spice to it, not overly hot. This is not a Thai spice or anything like that. Just a nice solid meal. The pasta is going to give you that extra substance to it. I'd add this up. You could do it with a nice glass of wine or just some water and lemon maybe. But it's going to be a nice dish for you to enjoy with you or your family. The whole dish, I would say, the way I've made it here today is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $6 or $7 a person, and that's probably being very generous with that number, but it's probably even less. So again, very nice simple dish, something you put together in about 20 or